So today I'm watching Battle Against Fate with you guys. Again, this is just a movie I made back in high school. The Chinese text I put here at the beginning was more from being inspired by the Donnie and Ip Man movies, and I kind of wanted it to be mysterious, but it was more just like a quick explanation as to who the villain is and what he does. There's no reason for there to be Chinese characters whatsoever. I just thought it'd be kind of clever, this takes place in the United States, not China or Japan or anything that involves those kind of characters. So, yeah. I was trying to do like a introduction here where you kind of see one of the main characters in the movie where he's getting ready for the morning. He's just going by his normal daily routine before stuff starts to get crazy. And at the time, I always thought it'd be kind of cool to have the camera tilt up to the sky and have like the text fade in. But yeah, I think I kind of grown past that kind of stuff. That's Scolari's. That Scolari's near my house actually is no longer open. But 5 years ago it was. And filming in the high school is definitely one of the most difficult parts because you and your camera guy will get distracted. Everyone knows it's just a fun school project, and it's not supposed to be anything big and whatnot. Here, I was trying to do like a camera angle change, where I change the angle every time we talk, but it doesn't need to be like every sentence that we talk. You can't have the camera over the other person's shoulder when the other person's talking too. It doesn't have to cut constantly. Because for me, I always thought like, oh, it's not that hard to just change the angle like they do in those big Hollywood movies. I'll just do what I want. But no, it wasn't that easy. Oh yeah, I got my teacher to hold the camera for that scene. I just wanted to show him like in high school and going through his classes. But it was harder than I thought it would be. Here I wanted to show more of Dean's character, how he's a flirt. If he doesn't get his way, he gets pissed off. But, well, the audio in this scene was mainly ruined in the original cut because with like a little camcorder with the microphone on the side, and all the high schoolers in the hall behind us, as you can see behind me, they're so loud that it just ruined the audio. But you can still hear it a bit. I think the closer the camera was, the better the audio sounded, like at least for those two exchanges. But you could see what I was trying to do in this movie, but a lot of it was more of attempting and not really achieving what I was hoping for. And there's a lot of walking in this one, but to be fair, the movie I created after this, there's even more walking, so I guess you gotta get used to walking from my earlier films. And basically exchanging dialogue only by the means of telling the viewer what is going to happen next. Because at the time, I did not understand that you don't have to explain everything to the audience. You can just cut there and let it be their imagination as to how they got there and what's going on. You don't have to be like, oh, hey, let's explain these two characters talking. They're going to meet up later, and here's why. And I'm gonna show it to you after they're done talking for like 2 or 3 minutes. And I tried keeping just one angle for the sake of better audio, on top of kind of playing tribute to those classical movies where they kept the one angle the whole time and the actors would talk back and forth. Because at the time I wasn't sure of what kind of angles would be best for conversations. I didn't even really know about the 180-degree rule until I was about halfway through making this movie, to be honest. And there's a lot of things I thought would be kind of creepy, like trying to pay homage to like those horror movies, but they just turn out being silly, like him standing in the background. Like, why is he still standing there? You think he would try to ambush him or something? But, yeah, testing the waters when you're pretty new at doing what you're doing is quite hilarious. Oh, man, I remember having my friend Diego ask him, "Who are you?" like 3 times. Looking back at it, it's so ridiculous. And like the garage door is open, even though supposedly his friend is not home. Fennec's not home right now. At this time I didn't give the character a last name because they were just based around ourselves, so I didn't really think too much of it. And this was my first attempt trying to film a fight scene. As you can tell, there's a lot of pauses throughout the whole thing. Whereas in my later works, when you actually get around to watching the fight scenes in my most current movie, Fail Encounter, if there is a pause, there's a reason for the pause. Like, the character didn't expect the other one to fall down during the fight, and so he's quite surprised, and by the time he goes to try to react off, he gets hit in the process or something. So the reactions and pauses are there on purpose, whereas in this time, they're not. It's just poor editing. I remember all the music that I took for this movie was mainly from Ip Man and a few other sources like X-Ray Dog and Audio Machine and I think Audio Sparks too or something like that. But that's why I've cut all the audio for this commentary. Otherwise, I would actually let it play through and you can hear how bad the sound is. But, that's okay. This scene here, after some days pass by, my friend Brian's actually inside my house. Like, we're literally like rooms away from each other. We basically just went over the conversation twice, and we filmed myself talking to him, and then we filmed him talking to me, and then I just kind of cut them both together, thinking that I was really clever because you don't know what kind of house he lives in. But I think it might give away that since you saw part of the house in the beginning, maybe it does show like, yeah, this is the same house. You're not being very clever, but at the time, I thought it was clever, because you don't know what kind of house he lives in, but, so I didn't really care what the house looked like at the time. And this is real funny. If you actually see someone standing in front of the door, wearing like a cloak and a mask, you want to stand there and turn your head going, okay, well, it's not Halloween yet. What is this guy doing? He's quite the Joker. You won't walk up to him and go, hey, excuse me, sir, can you please move? Like I had my friend Brian do, thinking that would be, oh, well, maybe he's just a nice guy. Not sure why this guy's standing in front of the door until he becomes that attacker. And this is my first true time trying to do a fight scene going on in two different places. Like you have one fight scene in the parking lot and you have another one by the building. That was my first time trying to do that. And at the time, I didn't think about the cuts or where they would go. I just said, oh, okay, we're just going to go film, and we're going to be over here now, and over there, and over here, and over there. And I did the same for both fights. And both of these fights were literally just my friend Brian and I fighting each other. Like, I'm in the black costume here, while he's in his uniform. And when we cut back to mine, I'm in the uniform, and he's in the costume. So, they're both very similar because of that, even though I should have tried getting someone else to help me. But at the time of making this, I didn't really have much help. It was just my close friends and I, and we're mainly doing it for fun, and I had a lot more fun doing this than I thought I would, and so I kept doing it for another God knows how many years now. So I guess that's the cause of that. I kind of wanted this scene to be where, like, someone comes out on top, and then the other character does not. I think I was quite inspired at this time of multiple movies that do have multiple fight scenes going back and forth. I can't remember exactly right now which ones I was referencing to or attributing to. At the time, I thought it was actually really well done, and for a time, it's not too bad. Watch how the guy behind me disappears, though. There are so many flaws like that. I tried reasoning to myself, going, oh, well, maybe he's just a ninja and he got away really fast. But then you see him move earlier, and, well, that's not the case. It's just poor editing flaws. And at the time, I never checked the camcorder to see how the takes were. I would literally just film it, and I'd go, hey, how'd that look? And if the camera guy said good or not good, I'd either redo it or I'd keep it. And I wouldn't even bother looking at it until I got home and put it on the dang computer. Now I check like almost every take. Because if the take doesn't look good and you're all done filming, you're not going to go back and refilm it, especially not for a high school project. Well, I didn't at high school at the time, but yeah, you're not going to go back and refilm something after you have everyone got there and done and took time out of their day, and now you're home and you're working on it. And refilming stuff's a real pain if things don't go right the first time. So you have to try to get as much done and get as much correct the first time. And always leave yourself like an extra hour or two to film. Making this whole movie, I realized that you should always give yourself more time because you never have enough time to think get what you think you need to get done. Like for this scene, I had to throw my uniform on real quick. Actually, I think I'm trying to remember if we filmed this in 2 days or not, because I was wearing the black costume earlier, and I think we just went home, I got dressed, and then we came back, and we put it back in the same spot. It's been such a long time since I made this. I'm trying to bring my mind back to the past. This scene was not original, and it wasn't in my original script. I mainly put it here for testing the waters of trying to get different emotions through my viewer, on top of showing more background about the character that we're following. Like, what are his beliefs? What does he do? And I thought it would be real clever to make you look at the top line of the creeds in my own karate system, which are still true to this day, but I thought it would be real clever to show that. And he's like going to the house, he's about to go to bed, and he has like this sixth sense feeling going on. So he goes to see what he's feeling about, and as he's like coming outside, he sees a guy standing right in front of him right there. And at the time it was so funny, because when I was showing this to my high school class, everyone's like, "It's a trap!" Like all Akbar style from Star Wars. I thought that was pretty damn hilarious. Like, "No, why are you chasing him? It's a trap, run away, what are you doing?" Everyone was like yelling all these things in like class, and I was cracking up so hard. It's actually raining here. It was raining the whole time we were running and actually filming. But the problem is that my little camcorder at the time, which I don't think could do any more than 360 to 480p when it came to the quality, the quality is so bad in my opinion. When looking back at it now, you can't even see the rain. The most you get is the ground being wet and the light reflecting off the ground. And at the time, my teacher's like, "Oh, this is really clever. I mean, you made this, you filmed this during the rain. I mean, when it was raining or after the rain, and you got the extra light bouncing off the ground. That's a really clever thing to do there." And I'm like, "Yeah, we totally did that on purpose. We didn't just go and film this fight scene here at night after it rained or during the rain, just to get more light in there." So yeah, I can't take credit for that, even though it was just on accident. Sometimes the stuff that happens on accidents for the better. Here I tried doing a 2 versus 1 fight scene, and actually I think this is one of the better fight scenes that still hold out to this day. You know, it's a little silly. Like, why would you roll backwards to avoid a kick? You'd think you would just step back and block if necessary. And choreographing a fight scene with 2 people against 1 is a lot harder than choreographing a 1 versus 1. Because even though I was doing karate for like 6 years prior to making this, I believe. Okay, maybe more like 4 or 5, something like that. But at the time, it was a lot easier doing 1 versus 1, because when you're sparring people in your karate classes, you're more likely to spar 1 versus 1 more often than you are for 2 versus 1, 3 versus 1, 5 versus 1. And when you do get around to sparring multiple people, you don't... I really like that angle, by the way. That's one of my favorite ones in this movie. When you spar multiple people, you don't get the opportunity to do that as much as you did with just one person. So it was a lot easier doing 1 versus 1 than multiple people in a fight scene. I think I did a lot better job at it in the next movie, Final Confrontation. But I don't really want to spoil my current movie, but we didn't really go for multi-man fights at all in my most current one, just to avoid the quality dropping and then the lack of help on top of it. No, this scene. I remember there's a jump cut in this scene. Like, my hand magically appears on my backpack. See right there? That is because I did not... Well, I didn't check the camcorder. That's just what happens. And this scene, I thought it was going to be real clever, like have him punch the walls. He's walking by being all depressed, and it surprises him, but it's actually kind of silly. Like, how do you not see someone standing there about to throw a punch in your face type of thing? And then I have Crystal, which is like a friend of his, go, "Hey, if he's beating up your friends and I'm your friend, you should train me." That's kind of BS. Yeah, I should have worked on this arm cast. But at the time, I'm like, it's a high school project. Who cares? doesn't have to be Hollywood perfect or anything. Let me just throw a freaking blanket on my friend's arm and call it an arm cast. Yeah, it's cringeworthy when I look back at it now. I mean, very, very ridiculous. But if I had to go back and redo that, I would definitely work on that cast a lot more. Because I actually know how to make a decent fake cast that it involves a little more artwork than just throwing a white blanket on that flaps off the back. And I needed like a transition scene, so I'm like, hey, please do this for me, buddy. Like my friend Tan in the hall. I'm like, hey, just say a line of dialogue. And what's funny about Diego leaving, walking out of the high school because of depression, everyone in my high school class was going, oh my god, he's conspiring with the bad guys. He's going to go join forces with them. He's actually a traitor. He's a double agent. And they were going on, and it was actually quite funny. Excuse me. Anyways, this part was a little funny too, because when someone's running at you like that, you wouldn't just stand there and kind of wait for them to get close range and start attacking you. Before you react, you would probably start running or moving backwards or doing something. And when I dropped the backpack there, I did break my headset microphone that I would use for my video game playthroughs at the time. I didn't realize that dropping my backpack there so roughly with it in there would actually cause it to break like that. And at this fight scene entirely, I wanted to show him like trying to defend his friends. And here I was really experimenting with camera angles. Like I was really trying. I want to get some far away shots. And I want to get like a close up. And this eye twitch is a reference to Ip Man when he twitches his eye when he's fighting, I think like the Northerner in the movie. The only problem with this fight scene is that there's too much hands going on. Like just hands going back and forth. And that is the result of not knowing what we're doing and just trying it. Trying to choreograph a fight scene. And us being part of the same karate system did not help either. Because we're so used to each other's fighting styles and so used to sparring each other. So it literally comes like second nature. Which is why the hand combinations back and forth kind of looks pretty cool in my opinion. But it does have the lack of variety. Oh man, my room used to look way different back then. Like, that was the laptop I made the whole movie on. That Toshiba laptop with 1 gig of RAM. I don't know how you're supposed to edit any sort of video project with 1 gig of RAM. And granted, they made them with less RAM or the same back in the day. I don't know how they did it. Kudos to them, but my god, I had such a hard time making this project. And here's a fun Easter egg. And you see how many people that were in that one frame? That is the most people I've ever had in a frame up until my current project. I've never had that many people help me with a video project before. And here I just had my friend do like a casting call to get as many people together as possible. And I'm like, oh, let's actually just do some karate stuff and we'll just film it. Let's see, I have like 6 people there. Yeah, I think I have like 6 people there. Yeah, I do, including myself and 7 if you include the camera guy too. And at the time, I was still pretty new at teaching karate, so I just went over like some pure basic stuff. When we were going back and forth with sticky hands, coming up next is actually the most complicated thing I would teach at the time, in my opinion. So I thought it'd be really cool. Like if someone's striking you, how do you block and strike back? Which is right here. And this is actually them really getting it down, and they're really happy to work on it. Of course, they're just doing one side, but to see them happy getting it down is actually quite refreshing when you look back at it. I mean, I'd be pretty happy getting something down to I was just doing for like a quick movie project. And in this movie, I'd really try cutting back and forth, showing like what is the bad guy doing compared to what's the good guy doing. So Dean gets a call from one of his henchmen going, oh, well, so-and-so was killed. And he's like, really? Ugh. And so he's pissed off. And he decides to go kill one of Patrick's friends now, which is, well, Josh right here. And at the time, I would show them like playing video games and doing that kind of stuff in my earlier projects. I don't do that anymore. Not only because of just copyright reasons. I want to avoid getting copyright stuff in future projects. But you don't need to show them doing everything. You just kind of cut to, excuse me, I bumped the mic there. You can just cut to what's going on. You don't have to show every little thing up to the part you need to show. I could have just cut to the doorbell or whatever, and then just cut to here, and that would be fine. And I tried having Dean kind of be like sneaky, like a ninja, like because they know this forbidden martial arts that they're able to get in people's houses without being noticed and do all these terrible things. But throughout the whole movie, I never explained what is forbidden martial arts. Why is it forbidden? What is it, like Cobra Kai from Karate Kid? No, not exactly. I mean, sure, there are a lot of techniques that within modern martial arts you don't tend to teach a lot in most systems, because you really don't need to go over such extreme measures to disarm or defend yourself unless the attacker is literally trying to kill you, and even then you don't need to kill them in retaliation. So I didn't really explain that, but anyways, Dean is chasing Josh, and you have a lot of running. Everyone laughed that I had them jaywalk here. I don't know why. You're running for your life. Do you care about the law? Probably not. You're trying to get away. So after, God, they're still running. I forget how long I make people run. It's like, just run, I'll film it, because I'm the camera guy for this whole scene. And I thought it'd be real clever to have, like, Dean catch up to him, but since Josh was so much taller, and Dean, his pants hung lower than they should have, and he could not catch up to them, so I told Josh, hey, can you slow down a little bit and let Dean catch up to you so we can actually move on with today, because it was taking a while. And at the time, I was really proud of that shot. I'm just like, yeah, it shows him walking away, cool. Whatever. And then, isn't this the most heartening way to figure out that one of your loved ones has passed, whether through natural causes or crime, is someone calling you up on the phone and telling you over the phone instead of, meeting up with you in person? You could think the lack of help, because on almost every video project I've done, I've never had a lot of help. And I realize the more people you get on set, the harder it is to keep control of everything. That's probably why there's so many different directors and assistants and producers all working on different parts of it, so the directors don't have to focus on a whole group of people, just like smaller groups at a time. But anyways, I get sidetracked with what I'm talking about sometimes. He gets called and told him his friend's dead, and he has good reason to believe that the person he's been going up against this whole movie is the reason why his friend is dead. So he's like, I'm going to start training. And so he, without any knowledge of weightlifting and working out in a bedroom is really freaking stupid, but I decided to show him like really working on trying to make himself better so he can defeat Dean, who killed his friend. And so he's house training pretty much. This is still a little cringeworthy. See, the running in like the gym shorts and just a t-shirt's not so bad, but and I tried showing like the passing of time, like, okay, well, this month's over, throw away the calendar sheet and you see the next one, kind of give a date of the year. You don't really need to show it. You can just put text on the screen to kind of emphasize time too, whether it's like a next day or a week, or if you're trying to get a certain date for the project. And here I thought this was kind of clever, showing like a kata, but then I realized there's not really much room in my backyard to do a form. Yeah, as if I totally finished reading that book and put it in that pile. These are my friend's martial arts books. Excuse me, but I wanted to show the character going through all those karate books and like studying and training and trying to make himself better. Kind of like that training montage in Ip Man 2 at the end before he fights Twister the boxer. That's what I was really inspired by when I was making this. And here is a pretty clever shot. I had my friend Kyle, I was in my same video class. He came up with the idea to sit in like a rolling chair, like one of those office chairs, and since it was tile that he would just roll backwards and hold the camera while I would walk towards him. But I had to walk really, really slow. But it actually turned out to be a pretty decent shot. Kind of like one of those dolly shots that I've been on set for in bigger productions in my own. And those shots are pretty cool. So like a low budget way of getting that dolly shot is to hopefully you're on like some sort of tile or hardwood. Just take the rolling chair and go backwards. It's actually not too bad. It doesn't turn out as bad as you might think it would. And so here is another explaining scene. He just got done challenging Dean to a fight. Now he's going to his friend Brian and going, "Oh yeah, by the way, our friend Josh has been dead for a couple of weeks, but I figured I'll tell you now because now's a better time than when I found out. Because, it put me really in a depressed state and I had to go isolate myself and train." Okay, no, he doesn't say that. But that would have been more entertaining to listen to. And I didn't have a camera guy, so I just put the camera like on one of his shelves and we just sat down and talked. And so that's why there's not much creativity here. And to be fair, we actually did this for a current project that I'm working on. I don't want to go into too much detail about it because it's not done or released yet. But when we actually did this, I did change the camera angle a few times by putting the camera on a tripod. And then when I decided to do a longer take shot, I did keep the same shot for like 2 or 3 minutes or so. Because the dialogue was fluent and it actually felt natural. It wasn't forced or going over lines so bad. It's just, okay, hit these notes and go with it. And it turned out pretty good. But I did change the angle a couple times before and after just to mix it up. Because when you have the same shot like this, it does tend to be less interactive for your eyes. Your eyes like already seen everything in the frame and you're kind of just waiting for the shot to change and it drags on a bit. In the movie Some Like It Hot that I watched at the time, when they had those long angles and like where they kept the two characters in frame, there was a lot more stuff going on. Whereas in obviously my movie there really wasn't. Here I tried doing like one of those speeches where the character is monologuing to the audience and more of himself before he's going out to fight Dean. Like, oh, well, martial arts is supposed to be used to defend people and your friends and yourself, not to use for any way what you like. And he doesn't know the true meaning of that, but I'll teach him. He'll learn today, even if it kills me or something stupid like that. I can't remember word for word, but the lines are along that. And my true vision of this scene was that there would be a lot of people watching this fight go down, like a school fight. But no one would show up to do it with me, so I kind of just got stuck with me and a few friends. So that's why Brian's the only one standing in the background. And what's funny about this fight, the final fight of the movie, which granted it's not that great, I try to like show these two sizing each other up, kind of like when you're sparring and you're about to make a move on each other. And everyone thought we were dancing, which no, not really. It's just we didn't need to go on for this long. And we don't really need to take sparring stances to really do that. What's funny about this fight, though, is that I was playing the music for the fight that I wanted to put. I was playing the music for the excuse me, I don't know what I'm talking about. This shot was on a ladder. Here, let me talk about that instead. I had my friend Josh stay on a ladder, and we just kind of start going at each other, and then it cuts randomly there, just because I know how to really edit it. And I needed us to get to a certain part of the field, so I had to keep the action going a certain direction. Now, what I was trying to say earlier is that I was having the music play in my pocket, which is why the audio was cut from the camera, other than it just being super windy. Because I was trying to have us go with the music, because I wasn't sure how to edit music into a fight scene. And I wanted the timing to be right, because there were certain parts of the fight that had to be at certain times, like kind of have the music match up to the fighting. And that's why there's so many of these flaws in there. Like coming up is where there's a huge pause, like after you see all this action of him driving him back. Like right there, why is it pause there for 2 seconds? Well, the reason was when I was editing on my laptop, it kept delaying when I was hitting play on the playback, and it kept delaying in front, so I thought the cut was fine, and after rendering it, I decided not to go back and re-render it. And I don't think this camera caught at 30 frames per second. I think it was like 24 or 17 or something a bit lower. So my hands looked like a blur when I was throwing all those strikes on Dean. And I didn't think of having him flinch or anything. But I don't want the character to kill him. I want him to be like a better moral person. Like he refuses to kill his number one enemy, and then it comes back and bites him in the ass for it in like the next movie. But overall, I think it was a fun project that I did with my friends. This is pretty much the end of the movie where everything's resolved and you have like that horrible wind sound, so you can't really hear them anyways. But now I know how to really take care of wind problems like I do now. So that's just kind of how it turned out. You know, I wanted, and the text and music obviously come from being inspired by the It Man movie again. Like how there was text at the end, like after It Man got shot in the first movie. So here I want to do the same thing. Like, okay, well, he trained, he got his black belt one day, and he graduated from high school, so his life's moving forward, and no one messed with his friends again. And that becoming a legend thing was really stupid. I would have redone it if I had my knowledge today, but I'm not going to go back and redo an old high school film. We all look older anyway, so it's kind of weird. And I want to do like a cliffhanger, like, no one messed with his friends again, or so he thought. And that is Battle Against Fate. I could have talked more about behind the scenes and some of the stuff here, but there's just so much to talk about as the movie's playing that I can't really get through all of it. But it is fun to look back on and see where I was at, gosh, just 5 years ago. A little over 5 years now. And then to where I'm at now. And it's such a huge improvement that it makes me happy to see that I've really gone past this kind of stage. And if you rewatch this commentary, you'll see a lot of jump cuts and things popping in and out of frame randomly. And I say enjoy it. Because this movie has a lot in store for people who want to look for flaws in low-budget projects. And there's a lot of things that I felt was a good start for me to do and do right. So I was quite happy with just how it turned out at the time. And granted, I'm still happy with it now because it's, well, everyone has to start somewhere, but it's definitely a flawed, fun project to kind of look back on. I don't think it should be watched more than 1 or 2 times for your sanity. But yeah, that's Battle Against Fate. The credits stopped rolling, but I keep playing footage from it. And I think I was referencing Toy Story 2 here, where they're kind of playing like those fake deleted scenes while the credits are rolling for comedical purposes. But obviously not many people help me with this movie, so the credits are extremely short. Even in my current projects, they're still short. Because I just can't get a lot of people to help me. And that's it. That's Battle Against Fate. I hope you guys enjoyed looking back in the past with me on how this came to be. And maybe I'll do commentaries on all my video projects, just like looking back at them one of these days. But this will definitely be an interesting piece to have together. Anyways, well, that's it. You guys have a good day and take care.